Hi Jason, I'll just talk you through importing the graphic for Bali Beds. Before we start, I'm told you've got Embroidery Studio Designing, so that's what we're working with. So there's a little icon up here, import, and I'll just import it from my Blackboard there, open. Whoops, sorry, wrong one. I can't identify the font that you've got here, so I just cut that out to try and find it. So I'll just delete the first image. It's over here in our object properties box, and I did measure the file that you sent to me, and it was 250 millimeters wide. So what I'm going to do here is just transform and change the size of this. I couldn't just drag it down, but this is a more, I can just select the extremity of the design. Now I'm holding the control key down, which keeps my my cursor movement nice and horizontal or level. And so I just want to resize it to 250 millimeters. Okay, so there we are to size, and I'll lock it into place. That's under the Arrange menu. Lock and lock, unlock. So the shortcut is the letter K, and you can see the little black lock appear in the properties box. Okay, so I took a couple of other measurements before I started here too. And in your design, this satin stitch is 0.9 of a millimeter wide. So I'm going to use the input A stitch, the input C. I've set it at 0.9 of a millimeter. I can set my pull compensations and all that when I get going, and underlays, etc. So first of all, we'll just digitize the shape. So I'll start, it doesn't matter where I start really, but I'll start in the bottom corner in this case. Just Shift Z to zoom out. And I've set it so that the screen will scroll as I'm digitizing, so it will move off the screen, as you'll see in a moment. So I'm holding the control key down, that'll keep me nice and vertical and horizontal. And we'll come across here. Now the other thing I'll do, I'll just hit the letter, I don't need to, but I was going to hit the letter D to turn the drawing off. So the crosshair cursors help me to line up really nicely. There, just hit enter and enter again, and it's dropped in the first outline. Okay, I'll turn my drawing back on. The icon for that is this one here, or the shortcut is the letter D on the keyboard. So the image is still locked, but we're just hiding it. So I'll select it again, and I could redigitize that, but here's another little tool you can use, simple offsets. So if I set that at a minus setting of 0.25 of a millimeter and just do one offset and just select the input C, away we go. And if we now zoom in, just to roll the mouse forward, and you'll zoom in at where the mouse point is. So it's got that border automatically done for you. Now I talked about pull compensation and underlays a moment ago. So if we go to pull compensation, it's got 0.2 of a mil on. I'll just zoom in here and turn the pull compensation off, and you can see what happens. That's just an allowance. If when you're making the column of stitching, the column's going to pull in a little bit because of the pressure on the thread whilst making the stitch. So that's just an allowance that's built into the software. So I'll make them both 0.2. And underlay, well, we can use just a center run, and that's all that you'd require in this such a narrow column of stitching. Okay, let's turn our design back on again, and you can see in our object properties, there's our color object list. At least we've got a roadmap of the design of the objects that we've created. And the other interesting thing, if I navigate to the beginning of the design, now what I'll do is just change anything that's unsewn just to display as yellow. So this is my navigation tool, or travel toolbar they call it. If I left click, I go to the beginning of the design, and then I can right click on any of these icons and it'll move me forward by object, by segment, by color, by machine function, etc. This is the one I'm looking for, travel through by trim. So it's going to do both of those objects without trimming. The software's been clever enough to work out where the closest point is, and so long as it meets certain connector criteria, it just jumps across without the machine stopping. You can set those connector values so that it will trim, and it's under here, but we'll look at that in another video. Okay, so if I just roll in here, and also with my input C tool, enter twice, and there it is. Now I can't identify this font, and just to make the video a little quicker, I'll just use the standard font that we've got in the system. But look, you can download any TrueType font into the system, and the software will convert it. So to bring it up, font tool in, I'll just hit the letter A on the keyboard, or there's the tool for it there, the shortcut. So we capitalize it, THE, and Futura is probably the closest to the pointy A. It doesn't sort of do the narrow horizontal columns. So, but for the point of this exercise, I'll just use Futura. Now, I can nominate the height of the lettering here, and that looks to me like it's going to be about, say, 15 millimeters. And there's a number of baselines you can choose from. We'll just use the free line. Now the free line will be as long as it needs to be to accommodate the letters, and we don't need to put the length of it in. We just click on the screen where we want the baseline to sit, and it'll create the letters for us. That was not a bad guess. I didn't practice that. Now we can digitize this horizontal line again, or we can copy it, and then at the point where the last stitch is, Control V, it'll drop that in, so it's the next item in the order. Now all we need to do is just get it approximately where we want it. Now if we want to make sure it's exactly the same height as this one, we'll select it and then select the one that we want to reference to, and go to our Arrange menu and align to top, and they'll both line up. Okay, we can re-digitize the lettering, or I can just right click and drag down, because I'm going to use the same font. And the only property I'll change, two properties I'll change here are the letters and the size. Again, well, actually I won't change the size, I'll just update the text. I'll drag it across to where the B starts, and then just drag the handles out until I reach either the right-hand extremity or the height of the letters. Because what I'll do now is turn my reshaping tool on. The icon is this one here, or the shortcut is the letter H, and I can drag the letters along the baseline. Now what I've done there is right-clicked in the node belonging to the letter B, and it selects all of the nodes to the right. So I've dragged the word bed across. Now I haven't quite made the D, and I notice the E's a bit short in Bailey, so I can drag it out there. Now I'll come back and have a look at the word Bailey. What I would be inclined to do here is either drag the letters closer together so there's no jump stitch there, but if you must have the letters sitting exactly where they are in the artwork, we can fix that up, and I would set the connectors so that it actually trims between the B and the A. So you can slide the letters along the baseline so they fit exactly on the artwork. Now what I did then, didn't mean to, I was right clicking, so it's moved bed as well, so we'll just move bed back. If I'd have left clicked on the letter, it just selects that letter and you can move it. Okay, so apologies about the font, I just can't identify which one it is, but like I said, if it's in your system, there are 170 ESA fonts that have been digitized for the system, but it'll do, the vast majority of TrueType fonts without any problem. So there we are with that. We're still at the end of the design, so I can either drag this down and change its property or make it longer, or just select the input C tool again, hold the control key, and bang, there we go. And for the next lot of lettering, left click the font tool, type in the letters, make sure it's all capitalized. Proudly these proudly designed and made. Okay, now for this we could use the same font, but I think small block is pretty close to what you've been using. And it's probably about 7.5 millimeters high. We'll try 7 mil. Create text. Click on the screen, just drag it across. The height looks okay. We can just push it in a little bit, and that's looking pretty good to me. So that's basically it. Now if we run through the design, we'll find out where the thread trims are. So I left click on the top icon in the travel toolbar, and I'm right clicking to find thread trims in the design. Now it's thread trimming between each of those letters. Which is fine. Now it's doing a thread trim there. I think what we might do is just, because that's going to cost machine time, we'll just drag the Y in closer to the L. And test that again. So it's proudly designed and made in Australia. So that there are no thread trims in these letters here, but the letters are close enough that you're not going to see it. But as I said before, you can change all that in the connector values. So you can say, I want it to tie off, tie in, and thread trim at a certain distance. If it's under that distance, don't bother doing it. That's all done automatically. So I hope that helps. I'm sorry about the font. It's probably in the system. I just can't see it. The alternative to doing that, if you can't find a font, is to digitize the lettering. So what you would do here, or what I would do, is put a couple of guidelines in, and you can see that the A extends a little bit further out there. We'll make some adjustment for that when we're digitizing. Now I'm not going to run through all of the letters here, but this is how I would approach digitizing the first couple. With my input A tool, now if I'm right clicking now, which makes curves, and when I get to here, I'm left clicking, it'll straighten it out. Left click, left click, left click. I'll just go beyond that little dotted line because it'll pull in when it stitches. Okay, so if I just back through that by thread trim, it does that whole letter B without any problems. So I'll just go on and do the A. So I'll roll in here. The tool is still selected. And I won't go to the dotted line here because the A is going to push out. Now I noticed in your artwork, this is the way the letter was created, with that angle point at the top. And again, there's no thread trim in there. The software is smart enough to move the start and finish points of each object so that it avoids the thread trims. Let me just zoom in here and show you another way that we might do this A. I'll select the tool. We just put a little bit of a mitre on the top there. Now what we've done is done the apex part of the A after the bar. We'll just resequence that. And there's a feature up here to say apply closest join, because now the software's confused about where the start and finish points are. Well, it's not confused. It finished at the A there, and then we've sort of resequenced it. So to fix that, just grab that and hit your closest join feature. And if we back up through the A, you'll see there's no thread trims again. So turn the drawing off, and that will push out to a point there. So it's just a different technique. Okay, I hope this has given you some. What have I done there? Oh, I moved that lettering up, didn't I? So I hope that's given you some insight into how the system works. There's a heap more to it, but there's a quick video.